We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean, keep it green. Vitamalt bottle returns. Your bottles, your cash, your island.
A pleasant good morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, to the regional and international diaspora. It's just about 7 minutes after the hour of 8. Welcome to today's edition of Island Tea. Just to remind you, we're being simulcast on TVC Channel 40, Facebook, as well as YouTube. We're on your FM dial at 98.9. If you wish to join in on our conversation or bring something pressing to the fore, just to remind you, our local number is 466-0989. In the U.S., 1718-285-6984 or 1305-921-4619. In the U.K., 0333-440065. And if you wish to advertise with us, our sales office number is 466-9586. Good morning, Quint. How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
All right. I see outside looks like the rain is wanting to come down. So I'm happy both you and I made it in dry this morning. We didn't even get a touch of sprinkle. And I hope when we are done that it's eased off again for us. So for those of you that have to traverse in the rain, be careful this morning. For those of you that are driving, remember no way is far in St. Kitts. Please take your time. Ensure you can see the wheel of the person in front of you. That signifies that you're not too close. If you can't see anything but the back glass, you are too close. If they make a sudden stop, you could be in trouble. Let us take care and be careful this Tuesday morning. As we begin this morning, I was listening to something from this gentleman from St. Vincent, and I just wanted us to hear it as well. So here goes.
And we have a lot of burdens and pressures to bear shortly. You don't have to believe me, but it is happening. The U.S. is quietly beginning to dismantle not only Caribbean tourism, but the St. Lucia tourism product. Why do I say that? Philip Japer made a statement. They reacted, of course, he reacted back in a common sense way by saying, I have no comment to make. Then the United States Embassy recently issued a security alert prohibiting its government personnel from staying at Ladara Resort in St. Lucia. That's the only resort in St. Lucia that crime affects. Now, this is attributed to concerns regarding criminal activity and the potential for instant emergency response capabilities at the property. And while the advisory is as a precautionary measure for risk mitigation, it coincides with a diplomatic disagreement between the U.S. and St. Lucia Prime Minister Philip Japer. That's over the medical training programs in Cuba and the likes. Although the general travel status for remains unchanged, officials at the U.S. Embassy have urged private citizens, U.S. citizens, and their employees to avoid the area and maintain high levels of personal awareness. Now, this is the beginning of the end. This is I told you about Ariane and Chile back in the day. When they can't get to you, when you push back on them, they make your economy scream. Which depends heavily on tourism. So the point of crippling, dismantling that tourism product that St. Lucia has. And then they will head off to Rodney Bay and other places very soon to tell you that those places are crime-ridden and that you must avoid these areas. All in all, what will happen over time is that people avoid St. Lucia like a plague. This is what happens. And this now is really complex, and it highlights what America does when you push back on their narrative. I've told you about this time and time again. People don't get it. But primary tourist areas are concentrated in the north for nightlife, beach, Rodney Bay, and others, Grosley. And it is you have natural landmarks, you have the ecotourism, Spray area. It's the key attractions, including I think the pitons, the springs, and the Pigeon Island, the national park. They're offering a mix of luxury resorts and diving and hiking and cultural experiences. So you're effectively killing this product in St. Lucia. This is to do it, but it's very, very strange that you say that, but where your embassy is located in St. Michael, Barbados, they have the most crime in Barbados. But you're not advising anybody to stay away from St. Michael, Barbados. Based on what I heard, there are about 25 hotels located on that parish. So why is it that you're not telling anybody to stay away from there? And that parish is where the U.S. Embassy is located in Barbados. There's also, if you really fear for safety of employees, that area also has the highest crime rate in Barbados. If you look at the graph, you will see right there on the screen. It's amazing how these people operate. But I tell you, this is the dismantling and the beginning of the dismantling of Lucia's tourism product. First, they begin with this campaign, and then other people follow by making their own personal decisions. They do. I told you before in a previous video that America has one large weapon. It's called propaganda. And in that machine, they have the ammunition, the rifles, whatever you want to call it. Then they have the short range, the long range ballistic, the intercontinental, they have the nuclear option. And when you push back and they can't go with you, they release the nuclear option. That is in your economy through propaganda. You have to understand how this operates. Once, pay attention, prepare for hard times in this region. A lot of these islands are going to hit IMF very soon. A lot of them. More hard times ahead. We have to decide how we're doing it. Are we planning? planting? Are we doing tourism within the region? Are we getting our own leaders to think, not just bow and kiss for a visa to walk down Manhattan? We have to decide how we're doing it. I'll talk to you in the next video.
Yeah. So I saw that and I thought, wow, where are we headed? What are we doing? I can't wait for February 24th and the 27th to the 27th and afterwards to hear what our leaders have collectively decided once they would have met here in St. Kitts, because we have to do what is necessary to safeguard ourselves. As he said, are we going to plant? There is one video where he said we'll have to go back to firewood. I hope it doesn't get to that extreme.
I don't think it'll get to that extreme, but be prepared for anything. I mean, don't take it lightly. I don't think it will get to that extreme. What usually happens when someone tests you is about your reaction, you know? So let's see how they react, and depending on how our leaders react, that is going to determine the future.
Yeah, but
And their reaction has got to be. Let's look at that Super Bowl thing with Bad Bunny. That is very significant, you know, because he showed a sort of a history, starting with the cane fields, and he had all the flags. You understand? The Latin American flags and the flags of the English-speaking Caribbean. And what that was saying, when you look at the crowd and you see the intermingling of the browns and the lighters and the dark and everything, this is what we have been saying all the time. We have been saying, and our older leaders from way back were saying, learn to unite. And when you unite, then you have power. And don't just unite and start making plans as to how you're going to control your region. Stop letting it be seen as America's backyard. You know, we're not America's backyard. As Mayor Motley said, say neighbors, you understand? But don't talk about your backyard. We're not in your backyard where you can come and do as you wish. Yes, you have the power to do a lot of things, but let's see how our leaders react. Hello, caller.
hello. Good morning, you're live on Island T.
Grand Rising, Cortensia and Quint, and to the listeners. Sorry. Yesterday, you know, Voices was rather interesting in my view, and I must compliment Carla and her host for yesterday's Voices. Now, Quint and Cortensia, you know, we can reflect on what took place, the Super Bowl and all that. But I was trying to share with them yesterday that the Super Bowl was held on the 8th, and in as much as it's always come across on the 8th, the 8th is symbolic to rebirth. When we look at the growth of the continent of Africa compared to Europe and America, we know that Africa is the new earth and Africa is the future. Africa is the present and the future for all Africans globally. I say all Africans first because, yes, we have to be restored and be redeemed from all that was imposed upon us. Now, why I say the 8th is of rebirth, if you go to the biblical text in the flood, humanity was doing wickedly according to the text, and 8 soul was saved to rebuild and replenish humanity according to the text. Now, Quinton Cortensia, yesterday I heard our famous biblical, the Bible way. He said something yesterday, Gregory, and he said that, I might be paraphrasing what he said, but leading up to what he said yesterday, pertaining to reparation, he's saying that he don't think that reparation should be paid to institution or, I stand to be corrected, But the point I want to make is, it's almost like you were saying that you don't believe in reparation or repatriation. But let us go to the Exodus in the biblical text. When the children that were in bondage, when they were going through that Exodus, when they leave Egypt according to what was written, it is said that the Egyptian gave them things to sustain them. Now, whatever it was, they were making an exodus out of Egypt going into the unknown, so to speak, to start a life for themselves. And the Egyptian gave them things to sustain them. In those days, it might not have been monetary. It could have been rubies or whatever they used for as currency. But it says that the very people who had them in bondage gave them things on their journey. So why shouldn't we, who were in bondage in our time, why shouldn't we be paid reparation? But the thing is, guys, is that we have to look at the people who enslaved us, Europe and Americans. Let us look at them. Because here we are, and for decades we've been asking, we know Hillary Beckles was asking for reparation and all of that, and even asking them to apologize. But, they know if they apologize, they would acknowledge that they have wronged us. So they are very tactical in their words, and it is about time that we recognize all of this. But like I said, guys...
But let me ask you a question. Do you think that us gaining reparations will be easy?
Well, no, Quinn, because you see, now, we have a weakness when it comes to... let us say we have a weakness. So let's be fair here. We have a weakness when it comes to the paper. Because you see, with the paper, we go against ourselves. Because those who in authority, they accept things. Now, let us take, for instance, the deportation of different nationalities from Trump to the Caribbean. Now, it is alleged that money was involved. Now, if this money that were taken by the Caribbean leaders, how long can it sustain these people that are being deported? Now, when this money is used up, do you think that those who in authority receive this money are going to put it to the cause to sustain the deportees? This is the weakness that we have when it comes to paper.
But the reason I asked that question is because yesterday, while Delcy and Carla were speaking, I was thinking, and I asked them the question, and Carla said, "Well, we have to depend on the law and the legal system." And I was thinking, because after they finished, I said to her, the reason I asked that question is because I want people to understand, and you all to understand, that this is a serious business. How do we expect the very same people who made the laws that put us in bondage, that is still keeping us, even in this day and age when they say that we are independent and we are living in a democracy? Look at what they're doing. So how is it that we expect? Mind you, I feel we should get reparations. But here's what I'm saying. Since you're dealing with the people who put our foreparents in bondage, and we know that they are schemers, we know they are liars, we know that their law, their legal system. Imagine you can go and you go in your parliament and pass laws that give you the right to go and put drugs in China so that the people can be addicted. So how is it that we are supposed to respect those laws? What I'm getting at, Journey, is that, look, if you're going to go into their legal system, you better make sure that you have something big, you dot every I and cross every T, and then you're not even sure if you're going to be successful, but try your best to know that this is an uphill battle. That is what I was suggesting.
Yes, Quinn. And the thing is, right, that this is why I'm saying that we have to become a collective. We have to recognize that we cannot go up against the system. We have to create our own. We have to decolonize our mind, our thoughts, from what they have set for us. Because you see, Quinn, they're not going to relent, you know. They're not going to relent. My post on social media right now, right, looking at what is happening to France, my post is that when Africa finished kicking out France, it would be interesting to see who would want to be the next president of France. But you see, African leaders now, for instance, most of them, a few are now joining the Sahel region. So Africa have to, I mean, yeah, we are saying that everything that's going to free Africa have to be from within. We cannot rely on external forces to help liberate us, because they're not, for instance, they gave us their education system as if, like Carla said yesterday, before colonization, Africa was in its space, living. There was there, I mean, who introduced God, who introduced hate, where those things came from. We were a collective living in harmony with nature before colonization, before the Arab invasion. We were in our space. So how can our people, how can our leaders not know this part of us and now gravitate to what was imposed on us by guns and bullets? You know? I mean, there's awakening right now, Quint, and it's a spiritual awakening. It's a spiritual awakening, and we have to reach the youth. We are the present. We are the present right now, and we have to reach the future, the youth. We have to now go into the schools and let the schools implement African history.
Even though I agree with you, the schools and the young people, they're going to be a whole nother kettle of fish to deal with, because their attitude, because again of that thing called money and what money means to them. I've got a clip and I'll play it after weekly dose, but that clip deals with Jamaicans and what they're saying about the erosion of their culture. But even though it is about Jamaicans expressing the erosion of their culture in relation to the youths, I want us to take it as the Caribbean going through this whole thing and not just, section out Jamaica, because the entire Caribbean is seeing this right now. But I want you to wrap up, because it's fast approaching.
Let me say this quickly.
Yeah.
Let me say this quickly. Looking at our schools today, right now, let's take the convent school, for instance. It is full of diversity. Are we to implement our African history into these schools? That's going to create a stir with parents and with the students. So yes, it is a battle, but we have to take it on. We have to take it on because we have to make the change. This is a black country. Think it's a Nevis. We are diverse now because we have free movement of people. So yes, we have to deal with this, and our leaders have to get on board with it too. I'll take a pause here, Clint.
Okay. Hortensia, I noticed you were sort of puzzled with the latter part of the statement.
Yeah, because we have all the cultures over there, but we can still celebrate each other's culture so that the children can learn. Because, yeah, it's Black History Month, so all of them can learn about Black history. Then we have the Asians over there. They have their time when they celebrate too, and I'm sure...
Over where? In the convent?
In the convent school,
okay.
yeah. And I think everybody's culture can be highlighted and shared, and everybody. No, I don't think it would be a problem.
I agree with him, because it should not be a problem, mind you, Hortensia. But we are so in our ways, and remember that is a Catholic church. How do we know their doctrination and their, how it might sway? Because remember, our history is a vicious history. Are we going to water it down? You might find some parents in there who might really, their hackles might come up if you really want to teach history in its true form.
But since it's a diverse school, then everybody needs to know, because all of the cultures over there went through something. Let's say those from Asia, particularly the Indians, they came to the Caribbean as indentured servants. Yes, they were paid, but were they paid much? So all of these things can be taught. We have the Chinese. We know what they went through too with their emperors, etc., etc. So everything, I just don't feel it would be. Anyways, to each his own. That's just me.
You might be perfectly wrong, but I feel that there would. I mean, so you might be perfectly right. Sorry, but I feel that there will be some sort
Backlash.
of
Okay.
resistance.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna take a bit of a break because it's exactly 8:29. We're gonna play a rebroadcast of Weekly Dose, and then we'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean. Keep it green. Vitamalt bottle returns. Your bottles, your cash, your island.
Caribbean numbers come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers
So play today.
at any Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
You're always safe with us.
Magnum, my brand. Everybody put a Magnum in the air now. From you a drink Magnum, make me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot Magnum a when me have in a me hand there. Give her a sip and she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah. Right now a Magnum a for your beat. Enjoy yourself every day of the week with a Magnum. My life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink. Drink responsibly.
We are back on Island Tea, and as promised, it's time for Weekly Dose with Dr. Natalie Osborne. And as I mentioned before, our topic for today is about antibiotics, but more specifically, antibiotic resistance. Good morning, Doc, and welcome back to Weekly Dose. How are you doing this week?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good. I'm always happy to be here. So this is a beautiful morning here. And we are going to be talking about antibiotic resistance specifically. And storytelling time. I met about 2 weeks ago a young adult male in his 40s who presented with a swelling to the upper arm. He said, just randomly, curiously, had a little pimple or something on the arm there. And then he realized he was picking at it. He played with it. You know, sometimes you feel a little bump on your skin and you kind of messed around and scratched it. And then over the following days, it started becoming swollen. So the forearm or the upper limb arm got grossly swollen. And then this individual eventually came to the hospital and developed an abscess secondary to the cellulitis, which is just the infection of the tissue. Had a surgical intervention to drain the pus out and tested the sample of the pus. We call that a culture to see what it shows, what type of bacteria, and to ensure if we had the correct antibiotics use for the patient, and found that he had what we call MRSA. I'm sure lots of persons would have heard that, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and that is one of those superbugs are bugs that are resistant to commonly used antibiotic. So usually there is a story behind the discussion and the topic. So then, of course, we're going to talk about all the implications and why some of this thing happen. So the former director of the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control in the United States, says if we use antibiotics when we don't need them, we may not have them when they are most needed. And that is where the world is going to now. And we know that antibiotic resistance is one of the world's biggest global situation, because what's happening, lots of underdeveloped countries, when there is an infection and there's limited resources, and then these antibiotics that are easy accessible, the cheaper antibiotics, they would not be able to be used. They would have no effectiveness. So they'll lose their effectiveness because what? Of the resistance. And we're having lots of that. Then having to produce more and more antibiotics, which are much more expensive over time. All right, so that is why we're going to discuss antibiotic resistance. And we know in our small setting we have a major problem with that, because individuals go and see their doctor, and if they have the cold and they feel like they cannot leave without having something, and the doctors sometimes feel psychologically that they're pressured. The patient came to see me, and a 15-minute conversation. Well, when I went, why did I go to that doctor? He didn't even give me nothing for the no treatment. Yeah. And we get that. And so sometimes psychologically you feel like you have to give something. So let's get right into our discussion.
Okay, so what are antibiotics?
So antibiotics, we know that these are medicines that help to stop infection, specifically bacteria. So back in the early years, you remember Alexander Fleming, I think 1928, around that time, accidentally developed the first type of antibiotic, the penicillin, and from there we developed all the other antibiotics over time. And at that point, that antibiotic was so widely used and was such a medical success, because it killed a lot of the bacteria, common bacteria that had wiped out thousands and thousands of individuals at that time. And then once they started using and implementing these antibiotics, we had better outcome, lowered disease rates, better mortality, decreased mortality, and these persons did much better. So we realized that antibiotics were very effective and they have their use. So they're specific to bacteria, okay?
Okay, so only for bacterial use. So let's speak about antibiotic resistance. What is it?
So antibiotic resistance occurs when the bacteria changes and the antibiotic no longer is effective. When you have a bacteria circulating around, so you take on the antibiotic, that's like the enemy to the bacteria, like the war machine, and it's coming and it's to destroy it. But what happens with these bacteria over time, and it happens with viruses, fungus too, they can create their own resistance, but we're specifically talking about bacteria. So what happens? The bacteria said, oh, you're coming, I'm going to start to change and mutate my body, and I put on a tougher exterior, tougher shell. So when the antibody comes in as the chemical to kill it, it no longer can. And then that is where you have development of these antibiotic resistance. And then you're pouring in all of these antibiotics and not getting the response that you want.
So does that mean the
antibiotics?
Yeah, that means the antibiotics are mutating.
No, the bug or the bacteria.
The antibiotics.
The antibiotic is the chemical that we use to kill the bacteria. So it's the bacteria that creates that mutation and becomes resistant to the drug.
Okay.
Okay, let me make it as simple as I can. You're coming at me, and you are the police, for example, and you have your tough machine gun and stuff. I would now develop my resistance by making sure I put on my bulletproof vest, and all these things. So now when you come to destroy me, I am resistant to you. So the bacteria is what becomes resistant to the antibiotic.
Okay, and why is antibiotic resistance dangerous?
So that is an important point now. So that is going to be part of the crux of our discussion here. Why is it dangerous? Because it increases the risk of severe infection. A common bug that enters your body, oftentimes, can be knocked out in 3 days with a good antibiotic. But if there is a resistance, your time of illness would be prolonged. Your hospitalization would be prolonged because of these resistance. Your medical costs would increase. Your chance of developing severe complication that can lead to limb loss. So if you have a severe infection in the foot by a bacteria that is resistant to most of the drugs that we use, that can be very aggressive, the infection, and severe, and that can lead to limb loss, which is a morbidity now in your life. It's changed your life and altered your life, and it can lead to death. So, and it's gonna make your medical expenses more. You leave the hospital because of the severe infection. You have much more doctor's visits. You need to follow up more because you have to keep a check on some of these things that are going on.
Wow. What causes antibiotic resistance?
So we all got to know that naturally bacteria, like any organism, wants to survive, wants to live and thrive. Yeah. It's a microorganism. And so over time, we're naturally going to have some resistance. But what we as humans have done over time is assist and sped up this resistance. So there's some of these reasons. The misuse of antibiotics. What do I mean when I say misuse of antibiotics? If you take antibiotics when you have a viral infection or fungal infection, it plays no real role there. But then we develop that resistance. So going to the physician and asking for antibiotics when you have the common cold or you have a viral illness really doesn't give you any support, because the antibiotics are specific to bacteria, not for virus. Sometimes we forget to take our antibiotic. We do not finish the course. So you have an incomplete course. Remember, antibiotics were studied for their frequency in which you may use them, like how often you use them, and how long you may use them. So if your doctor indicate that you should take your antibiotics for a week, twice a day, and you said you take it once a day, and you said, I start to feel better, and by day 3 or day 4, you stop taking it, you may have killed some of these bacteria. Say we have 100 bacteria circulating, and you kill 50 of them. That's 50% by the end of the first 3 days. What happens now? The next 50% is left there because you've taken away the killer for them, and then they develop changes and mutation over time. And so then you realize that next time you have a similar infection, there's resistance to it. So misusing your antibiotics is a problem. Persons often, they may not feel so well, and their mother have some antibiotics there that she's taking, and they grab a couple of them and they take them, and so that will happen. There's something that also calls spontaneous resistance. So sometimes naturally the genetic makeup of the bacteria change and mutates over on its own. So that's going to be part of the natural course of these bacteria, because every creature is trying to survive. Okay? And so after a while, the antibiotics is not beneficial. And there's some what we call transmitted resistance. Because we interact with each other and we're in this community, we know that you can have contagious drug-resistant bacteria. So it's contagious in the environment. You come in contact with your mother who's sick and who has a bacteria in her and that has developed a resistance, and then she passes that bacteria over onto you that has that resistance. And what happens, that bacteria multiplies, and if you get sick, when you get that antibiotic, it's always resistant to that antibiotic, and it doesn't give you the outcome that you want, the desired outcome.
Let us talk about who is most at risk for antibiotic-resistant infections.
So antibiotic-resistant infection can affect anybody. But of course, we're going to have the weaker in our community that we always need to protect, okay? But such as our babies, our newborns, our infants, their immune system is very underdeveloped, so we've got to protect them. So that can be a problem if they have an infection. That can lead to some poor outcomes. Persons who are over the age of 65. As we all get older, our body change, our defense mechanism lowers, and we are more at risk of developing any kind of infection or resistance to antibiotics. What about persons who are in those communities, homeless individual, crowded communities where there's so much overcrowding, persons are at an increased risk, okay? Persons who have an immune compromised system, we know that. Persons who are HIV positive, they can develop infections quite easily because their body cannot defend itself. Persons who are diabetic, persons who have kidney disease, persons who have lupus, they're at increased risk. And persons who take antibiotics for long term. There may be a time where your doctor, because of a certain condition you have, you may be placed on an antibiotic for a period of time that may exceed maybe 20 days, 21 days, and then you're at risk now to developing more infections, okay, over time.
Why is antibiotic resistance a problem?
So we talk about this as time goes by, as the mutation and changes in the bacteria. It's going to become a problem because what? We're going to have to keep producing new antibiotics. And the antibiotics that we have become ineffective or non-effective. And then what? A person gets an infection, and the infection can be life-changing, life-altering, that can lead to death. Okay, and it's a global health problem. And so that is why lots of persons need to be involved with this so that we can decrease the resistance to the bacteria, to the antibiotics that we have. Because it then becomes very costly on the healthcare system. So all of this is a part of healthcare prevention, using your antibiotics correctly in a timely manner. And if you do not need antibiotics, do not consume them, because what? With the resistance, it affects the entire healthcare system. And then you go into communities where you know that common antibiotics are no longer effective. And some of the most cost-effective antibiotics are what? Like the penicillins that we use on a daily basis. But soon, if we continue to abuse them, then you realize we're going to have to get more and more expensive drugs, because we realize that when the doctor prescribed the penicillins, they're not working anymore, and because we've developed that resistance in the community.
I was just going to ask how that penicillin managed to still be around, because as you mentioned, we could develop a resistance to it. So is it that they made it stronger over the years? Or?
Yes, because over time what has happened with the antibiotic, there's combined it with different drugs to increase the potential or the strength of it over time too. And in communities that do not abuse antibiotics, you can find that these simpler and the original antibiotics can be used and be used effectively. But of course, over time, and the market pushes you, because there's a financial cause in this too, where the market pushes you to buy the more expensive drug, the newer drug on the market, when we know that the more common ones are still effective in a community that has not abused this drug.
Okay. So which is the largest? Which industry is the largest consumer of antibiotics?
So this one is very important. We're talking about the largest consumer of antibiotics is the agriculture industry. And we hear about it all the time. So we're treating the livestock. Think about it. These chickens and these pigs, these cattle, they're on a farm, and there are thousands of them. So that is overcrowding. So if one of these chicken develop an infection, it spreads throughout the group there in the farmhouse. And what happens? The farmer comes in, he gets these large quantity of antibiotics, put them in their feed to try and decrease any infection, because that's going to affect his bottom line. So he wants to make sure that his animals do not die off because of a severe infection. And also antibiotics are used to increase the growth of these animals that we use for food. And so in 2006, the European Union banned the use of antibiotics in livestock for growth, because they realized once they kept giving the animals these antibiotics, they became bigger when they swelled up, and so it became almost like a secondary benefit Because originally it was like to treat the infection, but they realized that they developed quicker, they become bigger quicker. And so then that is one of the reasons, because your meat looks fluffy, I don't know, juicier, ready to go to the market.
How does that, I know that's not a question, but how would that affect us, the consumer that eats the meat?
Well, I like that you asked that question, because once you eat the meat as a consumer too, these animals will develop bacterial resistance, antibiotic resistance, right? They will develop antibiotic resistance, and we would consume some of these antibiotic resistant bacteria when we eat them in these undercooked meats, sometimes the ill-prepared meats. And that is how then there is cross contamination now from animals to humans, and we develop these bacteria and get this cross-contamination. Then when we go and use the antibiotics, we realize that it's not responding because these antibiotics that were used
to grow the meat,
the bacteria develop resistance. We consume that bacteria, it still has the same resistance. And you say, but I have never abused antibiotics. How come I'm having this severe infection now? But because of the cross-contamination.
Wow. What are superbugs?
So superbugs are nothing more than these bacteria, virus, fungus, or germ, but in this case we're talking about bacteria that become resistant to the antibiotic. So yet again we go back to our illustration of thinking about the military. So now you have top gear and you're protecting yourself. And so you're much more resistant now. And anytime the antibiotic comes in, you are stronger against this antibiotic and getting stronger, and you're just bouncing off the bullets or the shots that the antibiotic is taking at you. They're chemicals, and it's not affecting this bacteria. What happens then? Remember, these bacteria are multiplying, so every time they have their new bacteria, they divide and multiply. They're creating all of this antibiotic-resistant bacteria. And so when you have these superbugs, they're much more difficult to treat. And we spoke about it earlier, longer stay in the hospital. You have to use more and more expensive drugs to treat these patients, okay? And they can lead to poorer outcomes.
Oh boy. How can we combat antibiotic resistance?
So combating antibiotic resistance, that's a job for the global industry for all of us to participate in. We could start with basic things like good hygiene, protecting yourself from infection so you won't need to use an antibiotic, okay? You want to use antibiotics only when you need them. You want to get vaccinated. You may think that it's not related for these viral illnesses, because that is what leads a lot of people to their doctor to ask for antibiotics when they have viral illnesses. So you take, your vaccines and making sure, because if you have the necessary vaccines, remember we have pneumococcal vaccines, you have the vaccines that we use for things like tuberculosis, because all of these diseases needs antibiotics. So you want to make sure you get the necessary vaccines so that you can prevent these antibiotics. So that is one of the reasons you want to combat it. You want to make sure that you do not overuse antibiotics, as we said earlier. Doctors, we have a responsibility of not over-prescribing it and not to feel that emotional bully or need to do something for the patient. Okay, everything's going to be resolved in either 14 days or 2 weeks. The virus is going to take its course. And persons have to make sure, because the individual has a responsibility to complete the course of the antibiotic as well too. That's what you have to do. And take it as prescribed. You don't want to overuse it in livestock, as we spoke about earlier, and in the farming industry and fishing industry. And you want to make sure that we encourage hygienes, and we want to develop new antibiotics too. So everybody has a role. Scientists need to be doing that to try and develop new antibiotics. Healthcare administrators need to be going out there advocating and indicating to persons the correct use of these antibiotics.
I'm going to throw a question in that I don't see here. But what if you prescribe the medication, you have to take it at a certain time. What if you miss a dose? How does that affect the antibiotic working for you?
Okay. You miss a dose. Correctly, when these antibiotics are studied, they're it's a lot of mechanics and mechanism behind it, but they were studied and they realized that every 12 hours, for example, is the most effective every 8 hours. So you keep that antibiotic peaked in your system where it is most effective, okay? Like the percentage or the quantity of the antibiotic. And so you want to, so then you realize that it's most effective to giving it every 12 hours. But here's what. We're humans and we're going to err. So if you take the antibiotic not at the 12th hour but at the 11th hour or at the 13th hour, an hour or two doesn't make a big difference. What we do not want, if you're prescribed it every 12 hours, you only take it once a day, because it means then it's going to peak and then it's going to drop off, and then you wouldn't have that coverage, because you got to, the antibiotics is the chemical that is killing this bacteria, and you got to keep your assault on it. You have to keep your assault on it, so you do not stop until you eliminate this bacteria. So what happens if it peaks and then it drops off and you do not take your next dose? You're giving the bacteria a chance to get stronger as well too.
Wow. So let us talk about how do healthcare providers treat antibiotic-resistant bacteria?
So we have to acknowledge that this is going to be a bit limited and much more difficult. So we're looking for different types of antibiotics, a combination of antibiotics now, because now you're having resistance and we realize we've got to put on an additional antibiotics, 2 antibiotics instead of 1, 3 antibiotics depend. And then if you know you had a cheaper antibiotic, now you've got to use the more expensive antibiotic, which is the latest generation. Now where you could have given the person an oral antibiotic, you now have to admit them, and only an IV antibiotic may be effective at that time. So this is how it's going to be. And of course it creates a lot of expenses, not only to the individual but to the healthcare industry and the institution.
Wow. Are new antibiotics being developed?
I like this question. Are new antibiotics being developed? What is happening? Antibiotics have become so unprofitable. So the market and the major companies, pharmaceutical companies, are running away from creating new antibiotics because it's not as profitable, and I'll tell you why. So if you develop a new drug and it works well, how often contents you're going to have to use that antibiotics? You use it and it's done because it works well. So there's not going to be a great demand for that antibiotics. Think about it. And so then if you want the antibiotic to remain longer on the market, you've got to use it sparingly. That's not profitable for the pharmaceutical companies because they make their monies every time you order or you purchase this drug, okay? So it is not the same as having diabetes or hypertension or your cholesterol high, where your drugs, you take these medications on a daily basis for the rest of your life. With antibiotics, it's for a set period and then it's done. And so that's not profitable to a lot of these things. So then, earlier antibiotics, another factor too, had broad spectrum, meaning these earlier antibiotics, you could have used them for a wide variety of bacterial infection. But because we've developed so much resistance, most of these newer antibiotics are very specific. So if you're on antibiotics that can only treat one particular type of bacteria, how often that is going to be needed in the community? So a lot of these pharmaceutical companies are running away from doing antibiotics because it's not as profitable as it once was. Okay, and these are the factors. It's not going to be used constantly like a drug for your high blood pressure that you take every day. And so we're talking about demand in the market.
So what if we have a serious bacterial infection? What then?
Well, that is where think about it. And I go to COVID. Remember the COVID outbreak? The pharmaceutical companies went into their lab and billions of dollars was put behind these drugs so that they can be produced in a shorter time.
COVID was viral, right?
Yeah, COVID was viral, but I use that just as an example to show if there become a time when we have a severe global bacterial, they can put more effort then, because now in that way the pharmaceutical company is going to see the benefit and the profits. Think about it.
Some people during that time, just like we did during the COVID.
You said it.
Oh boy.
But you cannot make a super antibiotic, for example, unless there's a need. So there is, you have to understand that.
Supply and demand.
Yes, it's going to be supply and demand. So it's very important to know that this antibiotic resistance, it takes the entire community, where the healthcare provider, the patient themselves, we need the lawmakers and persons who lobby and put policies in place. We also need the scientists who are developing these antibiotics and via the pharmaceutical companies. So it's a multi-team effort so that we can decrease bacterial resistance. And we want to emphasize as well to that visiting your physician is not always about getting a quick fix. It's about sometimes reassurance, having a conversation, and just ruling out anything that is can be detrimental. And then once we've concluded between you and the physician that it's just a viral illness, you're not feeling pressured to be given antibiotic or to use antibiotics, because we don't want to develop or worsen any antibiotic resistance.
Should antibiotics be given for a viral infection?
No, it should not.
Okay.
I get persons are still coming to the physician wanting the antibiotics, and if you're not able to explain clearly with a deep scientific knowledge, the patient would leave thinking that you are ill-equipped as a physician and ignore your recommendations. There are times where you can start with a viral infection, and then you can get, it can prolong, and you can become infected secondarily by bacteria. That's a difference, okay? Because then you could start with something viral, and your body is not able to resist, and you have weakened immune system, and then it can lead to a secondary infection.
Could you give us an example where something viral can lead to a bacterial infection?
Yeah, well, a specific case, persons have started with an upper respiratory tract infection, but their immune system wasn't able to handle it.
Okay.
Then their lung can be overloaded with all of this mucus development. The mucus builds up there, and then it gets infected secondarily. You can then develop a pneumonia. And so it does happen in rare occasions. But the common cold and the common viral illnesses will not be treated adequately with antibiotics, and it plays no role. Here's what happens, because a lot of times it's psychological. The patient is getting better, and they would have gotten better, but they have the antibiotic on board, and they thought that the antibiotic was the solution. Within the 2 weeks, you were going to get better anyway, because your body was able to then fight off this virus. But then you start taking the antibiotic at the second week, you say, boy, doc, the antibiotic worked, give me another set. Patients come to the office and also ask you for antibiotic. Oh, I remember when I'd seen Dr. Wilkerson and he had given me this antibiotic and it had worked so well. Or I remember I'd seen Dr. Haley and he had given me this antibiotic and it had worked so well. And they basically are pressuring you now to give them said antibiotics when you may not find that there is a need or an indication for it. And so you may be seen as the bad doctor, maybe. But maybe that situation and that condition was different then.
Yeah, exactly. So as patients, we shouldn't want to bully the doctor for what we think is going to... And that's the funny thing, And that's why I tell people, things work differently at different times. Because what worked then may not work now.
And your condition may be different.
Exactly.
Oh, I had the same pain in my tummy, and the doctor had given me this, and it worked.
Listen, I never go and tell the doctor what I want. The doctor needs to see me and
evaluate
and then prescribe. I can't tell the doctor I want this, I want that. Listen, as humans, we're a funny set of people. Anything else to add, Doc?
No, it's been good to be here. Any other comments or questions? But I hope that the audience have learned from this and understanding when we talk about antibiotic resistant. So it's not that you are resistant, you as a human being, you as a body, it's the bacteria becomes resistant to the antibiotic that you are consuming, and so we develop these superbugs, and it becomes much more difficult. And especially if you have a weakened immune state, condition, you are more susceptible to developing severe infections with poor outcome. So we want to emphasize that when you see your physician, not all the time, sometimes you do have a bacterial infection, but it could be minor where your body is enough to put up a defense on its own, and it resolves it in a day or two because it's a mild infection. And so we've got to be more careful in prescribing antibiotics and thinking that it's the cure-all to everything.
Indeed. All right, Doc. Thank you so much for coming and educating us. You know, we appreciate you doing this for us every week. And for our audience that's listening, we hope that you would have garnered the information that you need. And please don't go bullying the doctors for antibiotics, okay? When you need it, they'll prescribe it. And we are back on Island T, and it's just about 4 minutes after the hour of 9. And yesterday I mentioned the salutatorian for virtuals, but I know who the valedictorian is. I don't know Quint, the young lady that represented us this year in Caribbean Talented Teen. That's Miss Soraya Williams, or Soraya Powell Williams. Let me make sure I have the name correctly. I do not want to be got. So give me 1 second.
While you're looking for the name, I noticed yesterday I heard you say something about salu and whatnot. And as much as I have a good vocabulary and pride myself in knowing words, I didn't know they have all this salu and valid. I know
Val
the
is
valedictorian.
Val is the big one. Sal is the second.
Okay, because I'm a customer of hearing the valedictorian. I didn't know they had
salutatorian.
Yeah, and all that. Yeah,
You're second. Sal.
Okay.
So it's I taught 2 young ladies with S names, and not saying the gentlemen are not included, but kudos to the young ladies. So Miss Soraya Williams Powell, she's a valedictorian for virtual, so congratulations to those young ladies. And everyone that sat their exams and did well, keep doing great. But I find, let me tell you, virtuals look like they really invest. I watched a video where the term marks, the children that did well, they were given like, according to how many subjects you did well in, they were like box juices. You got that amount. So if you did 10 subjects and you did well in them, you got 10 box juices. So it's like the principal is really investing, not saying the other principals aren't.
Them also.
Motivating
because
the
there's
students.
an incentive, and that is another thing that needs to be incorporated in our teaching, where you incentivize, children to learn, knowing that at the end there's something to gain, not always something financial, but something that they can look at their peers and say, okay, I'm the one who got this. Next year we're going to see, and they compete.
And the peers might want to come up too.
Yes.
So it's going to be a real big competition. Everybody doing good in that school. And as I said, I see the principal, he's vested in everything. When they have shows and his contestants are on, he's running back and forth with his flag, he's shouting the loudest, he's blowing his horn. He's just invested in the students. And when students see that their teachers and their principal want them to do well, because I have to include the teachers, I haven't forgotten you, but it's just that your principal is outstanding. I see the father for the ICCS, he was at the show this year for the Talented Teen, and he was supporting as well, and I was like, look at that. He's out in the numbers. Persons might say, oh, he shouldn't be there, but come on, Jesus hung out with everybody. So
I remember just before we started, I was speaking about a particular woman. She had a daughter, and her daughter was always striving to be top of her class, right? I think she was around maybe 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, around there. And she would come home and she would always be, proud that she's top.
Yeah.
One year she came second. And she cried.
Yeah.
She cried,
I remember coming forth and being afraid to come home to my mom because I always came first. And coming forth in high school where you have children coming from all angles and bright, it was like, oh my God, I let her down. But she made me know, no, you did well.
Yeah, so we had to be there consoling her and telling her, no, and she's saying, oh, but, and it was a young man who beat her, right? Oh, he did. And we're saying, no, but you did good. But no matter what we said, you could see we sort of consoled her to some extent, but you could see by her body language and so forth that she was determined that next year she's going to be
Ain't
number
gonna
one
happen.
again. And next year, she's not. So, children, for whatever reason, they need some kind of motivation. I remember one day she told me, because she would come to me with her homework and so forth and so forth. And one day she was me and her mom and another young lady who the mother had sort of semi-adopted. And she said to me, you're the brightest person I ever come in contact with. And I said to her, no, I'm not the brightest person. There are a lot of people brighter than me. And she's looking at me like, you're lying, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, there are a lot of people in this world way brighter than me. But to see that here was this little girl, and even with her teachers and that kind of stuff. And I remember my older son told me at one point something, and I explained it to him, and he looked at me and he said, how is it that my teachers them trying to explain and I don't, and you just come and So it's about having the knack to pass something on to someone else, and I think maybe that is what that headmaster has in that virtual school, that there's something about you that sort of emanates. People can't put it into words, you know what I'm saying? But something about your aura, something about the way you move and and the genuineness of how you speak to people, that they gravitate towards you and they're willing to learn.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, because he has his students good. Long time I haven't heard headmaster though. Now it's head teacher or principal, or we're using the American thing, principal.
And that's another thing again. I noticed you said he.
Yeah.
That is a dying thing. We don't see much male.
Yeah.
In
yeah,
school
for real.
institute.
A lot of our head teachers, principals, headmistresses now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have.
So
wow.
kudos to him.
Yeah. So all the best to the students down at the Bright Star. Now the Bright Star is like on the map. You can't miss the Bright Star anymore. Before you heard Bastaire and Sandy Point. Those were the two back and forth at each other in almost everything, sports, everything. Now the schools are inclusive.
Yeah.
So that's good. So young people, keep up the good work. Remember, you are our future leaders. Me and Quint will be eventually elderly and just chilling out.
I'm already elderly. You're still quite young. You still have a good way.
I'm trying to keep him out of the boat, but he wants to go in his boat. So all right.
No, I'm not. Not that I want to. I'm real. You know, I just keep it real.
I know, but I mean, we just sitting down in the corner watching on at them doing their thing.
Well, I'm not just sitting down in the corner. You know, we got to be moving. Maybe that's one of the
But
things.
at the age when we get there, what? Let me not say that, because I saw a young lady over in Nevis. She turned, was it 99? Is it 99 or 93? Oh my gosh. I'll have to look on Facebook again. And my lady coming dancing in the party like she's 50 something.
Well, I tell you.
I'm like, she's doing well. So happy belated birthday to that young lady. I'll have
It's
to.
about a state of mind, you know.
She coming nice, you know, Quinn.
Yeah. I'm going to take a bit of a commercial break. And when I come back, remember I promised you a bit of a clip. So we're going to take that break, and when I come back, we play that clip.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
Hey kids, it's chubby time. I have to go to school and learn and play with my friends too. Every day is fun day, 'cause I love my chubby chubby. Chubby, 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 chubby. Lots of flavors for me to choose. Every day they keep me cool. It fits my handmade just for me. Everybody loves chubby. Chubby, 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 chubby. Every day is fun day. Chubby.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hosfords.
The holidays just got a whole lot brighter with the new $5 Holiday Stash scratch ticket. It's easy to play, packed with $1,000 prizes and many chances for you to win big this holiday season. So go ahead, treat yourself, spread some cheer, and stack some cash. Play Holiday Stash today at Caribbean Lottery agents and vending machines island-wide. Must be 21 years and older to play. Please play responsibly.
I humbly apologize. I was looking at Corinne's performance last night. Sorry about that. Just about 40 minutes after the hour of 9. Oh my gosh. As Marsha was saying, for 10, she's already written 10 books, so she's doing good.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play this clip. Yesterday, Carla said something, and it sort of fits into this because she said that it was in regards to our culture and the way a lot of our young women behave in the streets, you know. And she said when she was young, she was inclined to act that way, but now she's older and wiser. And she said a lot of the young women, when they try to tell them, no, you don't have to act, they say, oh, well, we're only following our culture. Back in Africa, we were naked and we were, you know, using all kind of excuses. But we, as older ones looking on, we can see the deterioration, and we can see the deterioration in ways that we know will not bode good for the future. So I'm going to play this clip, and I don't want you to, even though it's about Jamaicans expressing themselves, I want you to look at it in a broad picture as it's a Caribbean thing, or it's a people thing, especially a black people thing, in the way we are allowing ourselves, as we advance, so-called advance in terms of technology and otherwise, our moral values seem to be on the decline. So give this a listen.
Jamaica culture strive on negativity and controversy. People can bash me in the comments all they want. Jamaica culture is a controversial and negative culture. I'm saying that as a Jamaican. I know all the people are going to bash my feet, but the truth are the truth.
No, let me just start off by saying this. I have always had a problem with this. And ever since being in this country, where when you get to a certain level where you start be visible, people ask me the question, oh, you sound Jamaican, or are you Jamaican? And to be honest with you guys, we really have a problem with it, because even though I really want to say I'm a pro-Jamaican, and even though I really want to say, yes, I'm a Jamaican, I'm kind of hesitant. And this is why. I'm hesitant because I don't know what is that person's experience with a Jamaican. I don't know what that person either encounter with in Jamaica or encounter with a Jamaican. And as a result of that, I'm really not going to jump and say, yeah, I'm a proud Jamaican, because I don't know. I don't know if it's a deal breaker for me, because some Jamaican out there just not play the game right and them do something in the past and that person have a bad experience with Jamaica. And that is why me so hesitant. And that is why we can relate to what I say.
Back in the days, culture, Jamaican culture, to now Jamaican culture, way different. Jamaica culture has changed. And people now got agree with that, Jamaica culture, and it's changing. Certain principles, certain morals that we used to have, way different. Jamaica culture has changed.
When you tell me if there's really a shift in the culture, tell me if me really off, because I would have loved to be off Panawania. And maybe because I migrate to the US and me really need on the ground for actually see the day to day. But when me I say it don't look good, the whole suck you this, suck you that, to anybody, whether the prime minister, the opposition leader, to people in power, no respect none of that. No respect. When it comes to the fake lifestyle, pretend like you're rich, it's been pushed, it's been sold. Back in the day, old people never used to pretend like them rich. And the funny thing is, the youth them today might make more money or have access to more money than maybe, let's say, your great-grandfather or your grandfather. But yet, them have less than your great-grandfather or your grandfather. And we know people will make the talking point and say, oh, but my grandmother never smart neither. Or my great-grandmother never smart either. Or my great-grandfather never smart neither. All him do a guy bush. That might be true. But your great-grandfather did own properties. Your great-grandfather did have the land. Your great-grandfather did have cattle. Your great-grandfather did have farm. What you have, apart from the money we have flashed from the internet, the money we acquire with no skills. Personally speaking, I think that we are selling a Jamaica that no longer exists. Anytime our athletes do anything on the international stage, and we can either make our money off it by selling some shirts or whatever the case is, and we can celebrate it. We still have push the Usain Bolt, we still have sell the Bob Marley, but in reality, that is not who we are today. Clearly not who we are.
Human capital deficiency, which is the level of education that our population has currently. 83% of the population has no tertiary level education. 83%. So only 17% has tertiary level education. When you boil it down to other qualification, 60% has no form of qualifications whatsoever. And 65% have no skill certification.
Now, let me just say this, because Jamaica is by far the loudest Caribbean island among all the English-speaking Caribbean countries. And I say that because every English-speaking Caribbean country, Jamaica name come up about something. But you know the worst part about it? It's never about something good. It's never about something good. It's about some farmer cuss out, some farmer brag and boast, some farmer scamming. Guyana talk about way. Trinidad talk about way. Barbados talk about way. Cayman Islands talk about way. And again, guys, it's never something good them talk about. Never.
Let me give you an example. The things that me have to deal with at daytime. One lady come in here and ask me the germs lotion. Germs lotion. And then when me ask her, germs lotion, miss? I don't know, germs lotion, that one they up there, so. No problem when people dance, you know. But how you fit dance? I have attitude with it. And that me not get. Oh, that don't make no sense.
That's the next thing we want to talk about. This whole dance movement when we see it going. No, me not say, if you have how much cape, and if you have 15 CXCs, and if you graduate from University of the West Indies with a law degree, and if you be a doctor, me not say that. That is not what me try to say. The point what me try to make is, the people them with the loudest voice, the people them will have the mic, the people them will have a large following, them that add no value, them dons, low IQ, can barely read past the 5th grade. And these are the people who will lead the next generation. These are the mothers and the fathers. Just stop and think about that.
A lot of Jamaicans are angry with Ghetto Kirk. And the reason why they're angry with Ghetto Kirk is because Ghetto Kirk is a Chinaman. If I said the same thing that Ghetto Kirk said, nobody would be angry. I think Ghetto Kirk should say a lot of Jamaicans are dunce. We need to start shaming people again, because we've developed a dunce culture, fully dunce, and it's celebrated. So why can't I celebrate Ghetto Kirk calling people dunce? You know, call yourself dunce. So what's the difference? Oh, Ghetto Kirk's skin color. So it seems as if it's racism or classism. If you're dunce, you're dunce. And Ghetto Kirk did the right thing by calling on a dunce. On celebrating a dunce culture in Jamaica. And on a don't batter eye and see how this is going to negatively affect the young kids them. When the young kids them see adults are glorified dunceness, it's going to be the order of the day. Ghetto Kirk, I thank you. On a dunce, man.
Jamaica, what we once knew, the great music, the great food, the great customer service, the beauty of the island, all of these things start dwindle down, them start water down. The Jamaica what we sell, the Jamaica what we keep on putting up nice videos and nice photos, it not exists apart from in the tourism industry. To me, it not exists. I don't know if you have a different view, but the Jamaica where we can say, yes, I'm proud to be Jamaican, I'm proud to go home, I'm proud to do this, it not really there, because the younger youths will carry the Jamaica flag now, trash. And the worst part about it, guys, is the things that are being celebrated now are some of the worst things. If you can come out and tell people egregious stuff that happened to you in your childhood, and you know, if you can come out and tell people some of the worst set of things about themselves, or some things where you go dig up, or some things where you research, or some things where you even think you know about them, that is being celebrated. If you want to see videos with 1,000 views, 1,000 likes, just make it be negative. Make it be controversial. Make it be something with absolutely no value. And you see how much views and likes and support you get.
Tell me about school, I wake a subject, can't buy pens and acres. Me not done yet. One goon better than 7 subject. It be my fi drop on the house come next. Me I do me fi do, me not care because me rather rich and done than bright and broke. Rich is right, poverty a bad luck. Someone richer than Elon Musk.
You can't make this up. It make it in the music. It's in the music now. So, it's in the school, it's in the music, it's in how them communicate, and definitely it is being celebrated. So, if you have drama for sell, trauma, who sleep with who figure suck who, yes, it'll get the likes, definitely it'll get the views. And the funny thing about it, once you start like and view that, it'll get pushed to the forefront more than anything else. That'll bombard the algorithm more than anything else. So, if you want to know anything or look for anything pan Jamaica, that's the first thing you're going to start to see. The things that will get the views and the likes. Me can't make this up. Me never know the day would have come when me would have be ashamed to even say me is a Jamaican. Wow. And me no want to say, oh, Andre, you have to be patriotic, and not for that. Then if I saw the case, then me also say I'm a Jamaican, but, and then me add the rest to it. But for just say I'm a Jamaican and be patriotic about this type of thing, or what them a preach now, or what them a push now, me can't do that. How me will do that? How me will celebrate that?
Yeah, and like I said, don't take it that it's just Jamaica, because we are seeing it right here.
Yeah, but in Guyana too.
That's
they
what
have
I'm
Gully.
saying.
They're dressed like the Jamaicans. They listen to all the songs. It's all over.
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So don't just jump on the Jamaicans. It's all of us doing the same thing. And imagine the young boy goes into the studio and he's singing lyrics that say,
rich and dunce.
Me rather be rich and dunce
than bright and broke.
You understand?
Wow. Yeah, well,
so I must say kudos to those who called it out, because this is another thing again. People, their hackles go up and they say, oh, you're unpatriotic. But if you're going to stay there, see the degradation, see how you're going down in the mire, and say nothing about it, then you're even more to blame than those young people who are ignorant and are not given guidance. You understand? And the part where you heard the voice of the person saying, the woman come and she says she wants germ lotion, right? And that's the Chinese who the other guy was defending. And he said, and when you see the video, you know what was a germ lotion? Jergen cream. Because he panicked.
Oh my God.
So
I thought she was actually looking for some for wing worm or something.
No, that is why he said, you see, you're dunce. And then people got offended because the Chinese man in his store is saying, man, this is deplorable. Don't be doing this.
Yeah.
Because she come and she says, I want germ. Because, Jergen, Jergen.
Jergens.
Yeah.
But germ is with a G.
No, but she's going by, what they call it, phonics?
Yeah, I guess.
So it's J. She said the G and the
Jergens.
J. Yeah, so the J, E, but she, she don't know how to spell. You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can understand if I was him, how I would have felt. It's just like when I'm here and somebody calls in and they make mistakes over and over, and I try to correct them because I don't want it to go on and on.
It makes no sense because the next person might not be so subtle and clear to correct them. They're gonna laugh and say, "Look at that person trying to be this and that."
And what often happens is people don't correct you, and every time you come, they stay behind and say, "Listen, that fool. I'm not going to do that." You understand?
It doesn't make sense.
Hello, caller. Okay, lost
that
caller.
You can always call. But for real, and we glorify these things because a lot of our young people sing the music, and a lot of our young people aspire to be like them, dress like them, tattoo themselves like them.
Because as long as he said, the algorithm, and look, it made me think about what he said, because maybe the new kind of warfare being fought against us is us degrading ourselves.
Yeah.
Because here is it that you push this and the algorithm picks it up, push it to the top. So anybody who wants to find out about St. Kitts or Jamaica or whatever, they're going to see the negative.
Yeah.
And you understand the light it's
He's
going to
correct.
put you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I see people often listening to them cursing each other out, and as you rightfully say, how they curse each other out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't listen to that because he's right. It's going to push you to the top of what you listen to.
That's it. Hello, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Gwen.
Yeah, good
And
day.
good morning, Cortensio.
Morning, Jamdang. How are you?
The poor people defender.
All right.
Gwen, this month here, we having a CARICOM sitting in Bastille. And I calling on the conscious people them who feel the pain for the Cuban them to let we go up by central bank and stand up there with some placard. Because the CARICOM here is weak. The ministers them is weak. And we gotta show them people in the Caribbean willing to stand up for the truthful things. We're not gonna let them get away with that. We're not gonna let America, great America, get away with what he wants to do to the Cubans them who looking after us with their kids. So this brave soldier and others who seems to be playing game need to stand up because I will be up there. I'm just waiting to hear where he gonna help, and I will be up there every day with me placard. And we will put some radical placard there too to let them know the member states across the Caribbean is not gonna play with this. Because we put them there to defend us, and they look like they're defending America. And they're gonna walk here. Have a good morning. This is Jam Down.
Thank you, Jamdang.
Yeah, that's a good input there. As we were discussing earlier, you know, we're waiting with bated breath to see what the outcome of this meeting is going to be.
Yeah.
If it is going to result in a capitulation and our leaders saying, well, you know, as they often say, you know, the United States is our friend, and you know, and we're tired of that rhetoric.
You know, even the young man that I was playing earlier, Ernesto Crook, and I think he's one of the writers for St. Vincent Times. He even spoke to our Prime Minister. No, we're not picking on our Prime Minister. We're just saying what he said. That our Prime Minister's rhetoric is a friend. What is it?
A friend of all, an enemy
of none. Yes, just to get it correct. And he'd be like, but.
And they got that from Mayor Motley.
Yeah, and he says that's what we taught, and I don't remember the rest of his words, so I wouldn't say.
But he said that, how is it that you're calling this person your friend and they're doing all this bad thing to you, right?
Yeah.
Friends don't treat you that way. You understand?
Friends don't treat you bad at all.
So, hello, caller.
Yeah, Quint, it's me again. You know, I support Jamdong. I want to say something. Remember the sitting president of America when he referred to African countries as shithole countries. And I mean, no disrespect when I use that phrase. He said it without any apology when he referred to Africa as, you know, S-hole countries. But just recently, Quint, he sent a delegation to Mali. Now, should we, as an African body, Mali, the diaspora, Africans in Europe and America, should we accept these delegations who now want to with Mali because of recognizing, according to the information that I see, the going forward of green energy and looking at what China and Russia is now doing in the West, the Sahel region. Here we have them trying to sneak in now after the man himself said that derogative term that he referred to Africa as. Now here we are, as we were growing up, Quint and Cortencia,
There's another caller waiting in the background. But go ahead, but be reminded
quickly.
there's another caller. Yeah.
Yeah, we grew up seeing how they displayed Africa on the telly. Poverty and starvation and all of that. And now recently he used that term to describe Africa, but yet they're sneaking in quietly now, almost unnoticed, and they want to now negotiate terms. Well, Africa needs to make its terms and conditions on its own ground and stand firm with the terms that they're considering going forward by recognizing that we have to take ownership of our resources and build. We have a continent to build, and I want our leaders, I want our politicians to recognize this change that is taking place and be a part of it, Quint. Let me hear what the other caller has to say, Quint. I'll pause.
Caller, go ahead. You're live in Island T. Good morning.
Good morning. What Jam Down just said about making the leaders in the Caribbean know that we're in solidarity with Cuba sounds good, but I don't think, to be quite honest, that it's going to be effective. I think that the leaders already gauge how the ordinary citizen in the region feels. And so it's left to them to register some form of protest in their own way.
You mean you're speaking to the leaders themselves?
The leaders themselves, yeah.
Okay.
All right? And they can take pattern, I think, from Mexico's president. Now, Mexico's president is faced with, most of Cuban oil used to come from Venezuela and Mexico.
Yeah.
And the United States announced that there would increase tariffs on any country that sells oil to Cuba. And what the Mexican president did when faced with that threat was to say that the policy of the U.S. is so unjust to the people of Cuba. She stated that clearly, right? But at the same time, she did not want her country to be facing increased tariffs. So they're in negotiations with the U.S. about circumventing that. And at the same time, they have not sold any oil to Cuba. What they've done is send food.
Yeah, I
right?
saw that.
So what I'm saying is, there are ways to register your protest without being confrontational, you know.
But I don't like that word confrontational in this instance. But I get what you're saying. The confrontation is coming from the bigger power. But I hear what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes. Okay. Yes. All right. The fact is, that threat is something that you have to deal with. You can't ignore it. Okay. And you can say you're in solidarity with Cuba, but that solidarity obviously have limits because you will be hurt as well. Okay? But like I said, it's important to register your disapproval, disgust, whatever you want to call it, with the policy that is not only harmful to Cuba, but harmful to your citizens as well.
But hear this. This is where diplomacy comes in, because I understand what you said. which leader again? The
Mexican.
Mexican leader.
Claudia
yeah.
Sheinbaum.
Mexican leader. But you see, we're not knowing what is happening behind the scenes. This is why our Caribbean leaders have to learn, because apart from that rhetoric and saying we're sending food, we don't know what they might be, because they know the agenda of the U.S. They know that if you get food but you don't have electricity in this modern era, your country comes to a standstill. So who knows what other help they're giving Cuba, but they're not going to say it. As you often say, walk with your mouth shut.
But our leaders have to be mindful as well, because a lot of CARICOM countries have students over there that will suffer the fate if these things collapse in Cuba.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. If there's unrest in Cuba and so on.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
For instance, let's say our students are there, they're going to universities or colleges or whatever, and no electricity. You understand how that works in terms, no oil, no, if you can't use your cars, you can't this, you can't. No, so use your rhetoric, but on the same thing, you have your own thing going on. We live in a diplomatic world. And what is going to happen, which has already begun to happen, is people are going to, in very subtle ways, move away gradually, trickle away from the U.S. That's
what's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a long-term thing, because, for one, any move towards that, you've seen, for instance, how they react to Chinese or Russian influence in the region. Any move towards that is gonna
but
be
see
sanctioned as well.
See the hypocrisy. See the hypocrisy. Look at what you just said. Any move toward, but their main businesses in China still pushing out products that are being consumed around the world.
Yes.
So you understand the hypocrisy. So we can use China when we want for our own agenda, but you little small fries don't use China, even if it means your detriment, even if it means you don't have oil. Imagine not having that energy in this day and age.
Yeah.
It's the world.
That's why they said in part of Bad Bunny's performance.
The world changed with Venezuela.
That is why now people are going to, perhaps I hopefully hope that people are slowly waking up to why I used to continuously be telling us, remember your history. Remember that these individuals are the ones who had us, our foreparents, in bondage and still are oppressing us 400 years after. You got comfortable with the fact that you could smile with them, but you didn't understand that while you were smiling with them and moving along, they were finding ways of stifling you. Now it is no longer subtle. It is in your face, in our faces.
And,
yes.
and that is why yesterday when my phone started acting up, the point I was making is that our Prime Minister, for instance, would go to these big conferences and meet leaders and so on, and he's always smiling, okay?
But he's a smiley person.
Huh?
He likes to smile.
Okay, yeah, but a smile tells you something too.
Yeah.
Right? If the other person is not smiling like you smiling, a big smile like you smiling, there's something to be drawn from that.
Yeah.
Generally, for instance, if you see official pictures of leaders, right, when they're having a conference, meeting, or whatever, do you see all of them smiling and
for instance,
they might be.
Let's use an example. The recent economic forum that you had with all those leaders. Did you see them smiling?
No. They take an official photograph and then.
Well, how do you tell somebody that smiled all their life that now that they're in a position you don't smile anymore? Because he was my teacher in high school. I know him too in 4G6 where I was, where he encouraged us to move from, where most of us did graduate and went to higher classes. He always smiled.
But he's not, and he does not smile, and he does not smile all.
Oh yes.
But he's talking.
Right? So all I'm saying, right? I'm not saying that you should be scowling, but you should look businesslike.
No, we're not.
Wow.
Yeah,
right?
Be businesslike.
You're dealing with those other guys. Don't let them think you're soft and you know.
So you think that's what his smiling will convey?
Of course.
Wow.
Especially if the other person isn't, or persons aren't.
Yeah.
Right? Those images says a lot.
Look,
right?
there's a thing that is called when people go to sit down to have discussions and so forth in forums. It is called
Poker face.
it is called the psychology of appearance. You understand?
Yeah, poker face. You look at the Chinese. The Chinese are famous for that.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what they're thinking. Right? You know? So what I'm saying, I mean, there's that. There's also, yesterday I had a history lesson in when we were growing up, how things like our music influenced us, how it influenced a lot of things, how we dressed, everything.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, what used to be fashionable in those days for menswear at least, were things like shirt jacks, what they call shirt jacks.
Yes.
Guyana and Trinidad in particular used to wear those, and then the narrow neck kind of thing that Indians would wear.
Yeah.
That used to be the standard wear for leaders back then.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and somehow it changed to this jacket and tie, suit and tie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that itself says a lot too, right? Because basically, you look at the Indian leader, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
He don't care where he is. He putting on his Indian formal dress, right? That's when you're confident and sure of yourself and don't have to pander to anybody.
And
look at the Ukraine leader.
Not
Look at
only
the
not only
Yeah,
that,
but look at
he's
the
sending
leader
a
from-
message also. He's sending a message also. Yeah.
But look at the leader for Burkina Faso. He has on his military wear. So does the leader of Niger and Mali. They're all in their military wear.
Yeah.
Right. Look at the Ukraine leader, and to show you that it means a lot. You remember when he went to the White House?
Yeah.
And someone said he didn't even have the courtesy of wearing a jacket.
A suit, yeah.
A suit.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So
But-
these
but
things mean something.
In that instance, I don't disagree with him, because even when the shirt jack was, and even now that they say you're supposed to wear coat and tie, there's a hypocrisy in it, because again, let me go back to my years of juvenile delinquents. That very same shirt jack, right? Your shirt jack is supposed to be out of your pants.
Yep.
Right.
But when you go to the court, they have a rule that you must tuck your shirt into your pants, right? And do you know that they made us tuck that shirt jack into our pants when we went into court? And then you could understand how that looked when you took it back out and you were walking back up the road with that. And I remember going through those things. And let me tell you, sometimes when I relay these things, it's not to glorify it's to let you know that sometimes the things you go through in life shape how your outcome. And I remember thinking to myself, when you had to be forced to do these things, and then you have to walk up from across Lozak Road and walk down into town with your shirt jack all rumpled up, and thinking to myself, no wonder we are in the position that we're in, because we don't understand that the laws and the rules are not for everyone.
But can we not argue that it's because style has changed? Because I know Maurice Bishop wore the shirt jack, Forbes Burnham wore the shirt jack, Chetty Jagan wore the shirt jack. A lot of our leaders wore the shirt jack.
But Cartencia...
Dr.
Simmons. I remember seeing a picture with him in his shirt jack.
But Cartencia, the message I'm sending is, even when it was the fashion and the style, let's say that the Prime Minister then, use a hypothetical, let's say that Kennedy Simmons walked into court. I don't think they would have forced him to put his shirt
jack
into
in
his
here
pants.
because of his Status.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
But here's me now, and
Yeah.
any other person from a certain status. It's about classism. You understand?
Yeah, but sure, Jack, and your pants don't even look good because
power.
that's not how it should be worn.
Yes.
They want power
Yes.
over you.
Yes,
From the
that's
outset,
what it
from the
is.
beginning.
Wow.
And it shows the hypocrisy of the system. You understand? Yeah. And that is why when I was young, I was so rebellious in so many ways because I saw things the way they were, and I, in my own way, found ways to rebel against it. And I wasn't the only one. If you look at the Black Power movement, those were people pumping the fist. It was in your face. It was, we're not going to stay there, and our leaders need to learn some of this thing.
Right, and the point, well, yesterday somebody said that we can't be nostalgic. We can be up to a point. I agree, we cannot go back.
Yes, I agree.
To that.
Yeah.
But what those things did was give our leaders and by extension the followers a kind of fervor, a kind of spirit, that kind of engendered change.
Yeah.
And
yes.
the thing is, the irony of it is that we have benefited from that, okay, from that commitment to change. And because of that, we become very complacent, we become very quiet, we're no longer militant, we just accept, we go with the flow, those kinds of things.
Let's
and
look at.
then we call it diplomacy.
Let's look at something. I was speaking to Cortensia this morning. I'm sure you might have been aware, but perhaps not. There's this particular journalist in the U.S. Her name is Georgia Fort, right? And she was recently, over the last weekend, arrested from doing her job, mind you, as a journalist, right? But to strengthen the point that you were just making, and I agree with, here's it. We know what ICE is doing, and we know the kind of intimidation they're projecting. But after they locked up that journalist, right, the black media especially came out in mass, and they were joined by other media sources, the Chinese media and Indian media and other media, and they protested in such a way that she was released along with who again, that guy Don Lemon, right, released. And it shows that you cannot just always capitulate.
Exactly. I mean, at some point you have to draw a line, right? And it's easier to draw that line if you're not alone.
That's it.
There's safety in numbers. There's
That's
strength
it.
in numbers.
Yes.
Okay? And for the life of me, I don't understand why our leaders don't recognize that yet.
For the life of me,
why it has taken them so long. Huh?
For the life of me, I'm in the same boat as you. I can't understand it.
It's so obvious, right? I mean, okay, we're not big like Mexico, so that their leader can just stand up and say, it is unjust. Straight out, it is unjust to the people of Cuba.
Yeah.
God, they're the ones who are going to be suffering. And by the way, I feel Cuba is going.
Going where?
I don't. Huh?
Going where?
That government is going to fail. That regime is going to fall.
Well, that is what usually happens.
Because I don't think the embargo is such now that the airlines apparently are not going to be flying there anymore because
of jet fuel lack of. I see Air
Canada
Canada has already said.
But again, Mr. McMahon, it brings us smack into the point that I'm trying to make, and I'm sure you're trying to make also. Here is it that a superpower, a spoiled, let's be honest, a spoiled, ridiculously spoiled superpower will kill you to have its way. You understand that? That is what was happening, They don't have to do this. They could have done more something, but this is what they have done throughout time. And so, as you said, the government is going to topple because the people internally are going to suffer. But it's an external force that is doing this to you, that didn't have to and doesn't have to do it, but does it because they can.
Yeah, but that's what I said yesterday. The leader right now determines his own morality.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas the overthrows and so on used to happen all the time in Africa or Chile or wherever. It used to be undercover. You know, they would use the CIA and those things to destabilize and so on.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's just straight in your face. Okay. We send a aircraft carrier, a battle group, and you better, you know,
But you see,
nobody wants the citizens to suffer.
But you see,
right? So
you see, all of it, as I've said, and people can accept it or disregard it, but all of it is stemming from seeing the way the world is going and panicking. And you're panicking and doing foolish things that, yes, I agree with you, it's going to happen over the long term, but I'm sure that the next 25 years from now, the U.S. is not going to be nowhere near in the position that it is in today to do what it is able to do.
No, I don't think so either, because even Europe, their close allies are waking up to the fact that they wield too much influence on them. They depend too much on them. So yes, that would happen, but it's going to happen over decades. It ain't going to happen over months or even the remaining term of the president.
Know that. Well, our foreparents had to suffer over what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
400 years?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, but it's really unfortunate how
it's unfortunate
the direction that the world is now going in.
But now you're seeing,
might is right.
Now you have a reality right in your face, and you see how the world has been running. The question is,
and how you respond.
That's it.
How you respond.
Because it comes back to when you said the world has changed, and I asked the question, how do we survive? It's those two things.
Yeah. And like I said, it was interesting that the Europeans thought that they could soft soap Trump.
Yeah.
You know, and butter him up and flatter him and so on, and that would work.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't become the leader, the president of the United States by being soft and just you know, malleable to you know, people could twist and turn you.
Yeah, but
right?
Trump,
so that should have told them straight out that wasn't going to work.
But right? Remember,
and Trump let them go ahead and feel that way while he did his.
But
he played hardball politics. They were playing around us.
But remember that there were. But remember there were presidents, numerous presidents before him. He's a 40-something. What number is he?
40 something. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll have to.
He's 40 something, right?
He's 240 something.
So here is it that you had presidents before, and Europe was using that with them, and it worked to some extent. But what they didn't realize with Trump is that what Trump says, Trump is not a diplomat. Trump says what he intends to do. They thought what he was saying, that when he got into, because Obama said it, you know. Obama said in Trump, before Trump got his first term, Obama said he thought that when Trump got in, the status of being president of the superpower of the world would sort of mild him, you know. But it did not.
Moderate him.
Yeah.
It didn't.
It did
Trump
not.
was the 45th and the 47th president.
Yeah.
47th? Okay.
45th, he's now the 47th.
Well, okay, yeah. He was 45th. Okay. But the unfortunate thing is, in the American system, there are supposed to be these checks and balances for executive power, for the presidential power, right? But they don't seem to work.
But that is what I'm saying, Mr. McMahon. I'm saying, Mr. McMahon, they never did work, but they were never tested. But now that you have a test, now you see that they don't work. If you go back to medieval times, this is why I tell people history. You go back and you look at how during the times of kings and so forth, how they governed. And you found that after they moved away from kings and they went into governments and different things and so, they still were subtly underneath moving the way that kings did, you know. They just became more diplomatic with it. So now Trump, that is why you had to protest no kings, because they were seeing him going back to that medieval, no subtlety whatsoever.
And the lesson for us, I guess it's human nature. That's just how we are built. Because, to be quite honest, even to bring this home locally, there are those among us who, regardless to what their leader does, do not question it.
Yeah.
They just follow blindly. That's just, maybe that's just who we are. Maybe just like ants or whoever.
It is who we are because of the comfort level, right? Because, for instance, let's say when the minister was here and he's Minister of Agriculture, I know a lot of people's hackles rose when I asked the question. I didn't do anything wrong. I simply asked a question. But people's hackle were going to rise because how dare he? Doesn't he respect the minister? So it's that comfort level,
They forget that he's elected. He's not selected to be king or there for life or anything like that.
And they forgot that it's we the people who keeps them in check.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't, they're gonna exploit that.
That's it.
You can bet your life they're gonna use it to their advantage one way or the other. That's why we have so much corruption,
Yeah. But before we close, I want to go back to. I didn't see the Super Bowl. Who won?
Seahawks.
Washington.
Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. About time, they've been struggling for years. You know what I'm saying? Anyway,
Patriots are terrible.
But let's go back.
It's interesting that, how that has galvanized the region.
Yeah.
Just by having those flags.
That is my point. Look, I never followed this guy. I heard about him.
Yeah.
Bad
Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
But look, when I look at that took guts to do that.
Of course.
That took guts. That is far from the norm. He intentionally wanted you to see his history, and he was sending a message to, because you saw the mix of the shades of people, you saw the flags. He was sending a message that we need to unite.
Exactly, and not only that.
And showing us the struggles in Puerto Rico, because since Hurricane Maria, they're still baffling with electricity.
Right,
yeah,
that's what the polls were about.
That's it.
Yep.
Look, this again shows where life can follow art. You understand?
Yes.
When I watched that, I said, wow, he is one bold individual. I'm sure that a lot of people who in that, because
somebody posted that they should get him for music festival.
Would they be able to pay him?
Exactly. That is what leadership is about.
That is
somebody, one person, and that shows the power of one.
That's
one person can evoke that kind of fellowship just by doing what he did.
Yes.
Okay, and that is leadership.
And he did not leave out anyone. We saw all the flags. We saw our flags among them.
Yeah.
You understand? That is leadership. That is boldness.
It's Puerto Rico he's from, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is.
Because I saw some, I guess it's one of the MAGA people saying they should deport him.
Yeah,
And he belonged to them. He have a blue passport like them. They're just out of hand. I don't understand them.
Anyway, we've come to the end of another session. Yeah. Thanks for your input as usual. Yeah. So, Hortensia?
Yeah, just have a great Tuesday. Tomorrow I'll talk about the significance of the shirt jack. I had that there, but since we're closing, you have a great Tuesday and see you tomorrow, God spare.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust. To secure your investment, you need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.